In a small town, there was a girl named Aisha. She loved reading books, but she had one big problem. She could not speak English. Every time someone spoke English, she felt shy and scared. Her hands would shake and her face turned red. She thought, "I will never be good at English." One day, Aisha's teacher gave her a book. It was a storybook in English. The teacher smiled and said, "Start with this. Do not worry about mistakes. Just read a little every day." Aisha was afraid, but she took the book home. At night she opened the book. The words looked strange, like a puzzle she could not solve. Her heart sank, but then she remembered her teacher's kind smile. She decided to read one word at a time. It was slow, but it was a start. The next morning, Aisha told herself, "I can do this." She made a small plan. She would read 5 sentences every day. She also wrote down words she did not understand and looked them up in her dictionary. Slowly, the puzzle started to make sense. But the real struggle began when her friends laughed at her. One day they heard her trying to speak English. "Listen to Aisha, she sounds so funny," they said. Aisha felt her eyes fill with tears. She wanted to quit. That night, Aisha sat alone in her room. She thought about giving up. But then she remembered a story her grandmother told her. A diamond is just a stone until it faces the fire. She whispered to herself, "I will be a diamond." The next day, Aisha went to her teacher. She asked, "Can you help me more?" The teacher was happy and gave her a secret tip. Watch English movies with subtitles. Listen to how they speak. Repeat their words. Aisha smiled for the first time in days. She started watching cartoons in English. At first it was hard to follow, but soon she began to understand small words. When she didn't know a word, she paused and wrote it down. Her notebook became her best friend. One day, something amazing happened. Aisha was in the market when a tourist asked for directions. Nobody knew what to say. Aisha took a deep breath and said, "Go straight, then turn left." The tourist smiled and said, "Thank you." Aisha's heart felt so light. For the first time, she believed in herself. That night, she made a promise. "I will work harder. I will never stop learning." Months passed, and Aisha's English improved, but she still had a long way to go. She decided to join a speaking club. At first, she was scared. Her voice trembled when she spoke. But the group was kind and helped her feel confident. One member, Raj, became her close friend. Raj shared another secret tip. Talk to yourself in English when you are alone. It will feel silly, but it works. Every night, she stood in front of her mirror and spoke. "Hello, Aisha. How are you?" "I am fine, thank you." She made mistakes, but she kept going. Slowly, her words became clear. One evening, her father watched her practice. He said, "I am proud of you, Aisha. You are working so hard." Aisha felt tears in her eyes. She hugged her father and said, "I will make you prouder." Then came a big challenge. Aisha's school announced a speech competition. The topic was my dream. Aisha wanted to join, but fear held her back. What if I forget my words? What if everyone laughs? She thought. Her teacher noticed her struggle and said, "Do not let fear stop you. Imagine the joy of achieving your dream." Aisha closed her eyes and imagined herself on the stage. Her heart said, "Yes." But she practiced every day. She stood in her room, holding a hairbrush as a microphone. She spoke to her teddy bears, pretending they were her audience. She worked on her pronunciation, her tone, and her confidence. The day of the competition arrived. Aisha stood backstage, her hands shaking. She whispered to herself, "I am a diamond. I can shine." When her name was called, she walked to the stage. The lights were bright and the room was silent. Aisha took a deep breath and began. "My dream is to learn English and inspire others." Her voice was soft at first, but with each word she grew stronger. She shared her story of struggle, hard work, and hope. When she finished, the audience clapped loudly. Aisha felt a rush of happiness. She had done it. She had faced her fear and won. Oh. After the competition, a little boy came to her and said, "I want to learn English too. Can you teach me?" Aisha smiled and said, "Yes, start with one word at a time." Years later, Aisha became a teacher. She helped many students who felt scared like she once did. She always told them, "Do not be afraid of mistakes. They are your teachers." And every night before going to bed, Aisha looked in the mirror and said, "I am proud of you." Aisha's journey didn't stop there. As a teacher, she found new challenges waiting for her. Many of her students came from small villages where English was a distant dream. They had little confidence and even less hope. Aisha saw herself in their eyes, scared, unsure, and struggling. She began every class with a smile, saying, "We are all learners here. Mistakes are our best friends." Her warmth and encouragement slowly broke the walls her students had built around their fears. One day, a student named Ravi approached her after class. He was a quiet boy, always sitting in the last row, never speaking. Ravi said in a shy voice, "Ma'am, I want to speak English, but my father says it is useless. He thinks I should only focus on farming." Aisha knelt down to his level and looked into his eyes. Ravi's eyes widened. He had never thought about it that way. Inspired, he started staying after class, practicing with Aisha. Every day he learned one new word, just like she had done years ago. Months later, Ravi gave his first speech in English during a school event. His voice trembled and he stumbled over a few words, but he finished with a proud smile. The audience clapped, and Aisha's heart swelled with joy. Meanwhile, Aisha continued to grow. She wanted to reach more people, so she started a YouTube channel. She called it Learn English with Aisha. Her first video was simple: how I overcame my fear of English. At first, the videos didn't get many views. Aisha felt disheartened. She thought, maybe I am not good enough. But then she remembered her own advice: do not give up. Keep trying. She kept posting videos, sharing tips and stories to inspire learners. One day, she received a message from a woman in another country. The message read, "Aisha, I watched your video. It gave me hope. Thank you for teaching me that it's okay to struggle." Aisha cried happy tears. Her words were reaching places she had never imagined. Her channel grew slowly but steadily. People from all over the world started following her journey. They loved her honesty and the way she made English simple and fun. But success brought new challenges. Some people left mean comments on her videos saying, "Your English isn't perfect," or "You are not a real teacher." The old fear tried to creep back into Aisha's heart. She turned to her mirror again and said, "You have come so far. Do not let anyone stop you now." She kept creating, learning, and improving. For every negative comment, there were 10 people who thanked her for changing their lives. One evening, Aisha received an invitation to speak at an international conference on education. She was shocked and nervous. Me? Speak to experts from all over the world, she thought. But then, she remembered how she had stood on that school stage years ago. She prepared for weeks, practicing every word, every sentence. When the day came, she stood on the grand stage, facing a large audience. She began, "My journey with English started in fear, but it grew into hope. Today I stand here because I never stopped trying." Her speech ended with a standing ovation. People lined up to meet her, sharing their stories of struggle and success. Aisha felt overwhelmed but deeply grateful. Back in her small town, her parents watched her on TV with tears of pride. Her father, who had once worried about her struggles, said, "Our Aisha is teaching the world. She is a true diamond." Over the years, Aisha's work changed countless lives, but she never forgot her roots. Every time she visited her hometown, she went to her old school and shared her story with the students. One day, a little girl asked her, "Aisha, ma'am, what is your secret to success?" Aisha smiled and said, "Hard work, patience, and never giving up on yourself. Remember, every great journey begins with one small step." Aisha's story became a light for many, and every time she stood in front of her mirror, she whispered, "I am still learning, I am still growing, and I am still proud." Her journey continues, one word, one story, and one heart at a time. Aisha's journey continued to evolve in unexpected ways. Her passion for helping others learn English became more than just a mission. It became her life's purpose. One day she received a letter from a boy named Samir who lived in a remote village. The letter was written in broken English but carried so much heart. It read with a kind of oral heritage, as if its pages had been spelled. It said, "Dear Aisha Mom, I want to learn English, but we don't have teachers in my village. I watch your videos by walking 5 kilometers to the nearest town where there is internet. Please don't stop making videos. You are my teacher." Aisha was moved to tears. She realized that her work had reached places she had never dreamed of. The very next day, she decided to visit Samir's village. Visiting the tribe that lived in Samir's village and seeking advice on what to do with her life. It was a long and difficult journey, but Aisha didn't mind. She wanted to meet the boy who had walked so far, just to learn. When she arrived, she was greeted by Samir and a group of curious children. They had never met anyone like Aisha. She spent the entire day teaching them simple English words and sentences. The joy on their faces was unforgettable. Before leaving, Aisha gave Samir a notebook and a promise. "I will send you lessons every week, and one day I will help bring a school to your village." Samir nodded with hope shining in his eyes. Back home, Aisha couldn't stop thinking about Samir and the many children like him. She decided to start a project called English for Everyone. She raised funds through her channel and her network. Slowly, she built a team of volunteers who shared her vision. The project was challenging. There were days when Aisha felt overwhelmed by the number of children who needed help. There were moments when funding was low and she wondered if she could continue. But every time she felt like giving up, she remembered Samir's letter and the promise she had made. Months turned into years, and English for Everyone grew into a nationwide movement. Small learning centers were set up in remote areas. Volunteers taught English through storytelling, just like Aisha had learned. Children who once thought English was impossible now spoke with confidence. But Aisha's dream didn't stop there. She wanted to make learning English accessible to everyone, even those without internet or teachers. She collaborated with a team of developers to create an app. The app was simple and user-friendly, designed for people of all ages. It featured audio lessons, interactive exercises, and motivational stories. "I can take your bag." When the app launched, it became an instant hit. People from villages, towns, and even cities started using it. Aisha received countless messages of gratitude. One message stood out. The Tolkien Road was never completely built. The fulfillment was never completed. It was from a young mother who wrote, "Thanks to your app, I can now help my son with his homework. You changed both our lives." Aisha often reflected on how far she had come. From a scared girl struggling with English to a teacher, a leader, and now an innovator. Her journey was proof that hard work and belief could overcome any obstacle. One evening, Aisha stood on her balcony, looking at the stars. She thought about the people she had met, the challenges she had faced, and the lives she had touched. She smiled and whispered to herself, "This is just the beginning." Her story became a beacon of hope for millions. Whenever someone doubted themselves, they thought of Aisha's journey. And Aisha, with her ever-growing passion, continued to inspire the world, one word at a time.